Imagine, for a moment, waking up in a life that isn't truly yours. You have the job, maybe the family, the perfectly curated social media feed. On the surface, everything shines. But beneath it all, there's a whisper. A quiet ache you can't quite name. A constant, nagging feeling that you're living for everyone else's approval, for every expectation, for every should that society, family, even your own well-meaning friends have placed upon you. It's a performance, isn't it? Every smile a little too bright, every yes a little too quick, every step carefully measured to fit into someone else's story. What if I told you that this quiet desperation, this feeling of being utterly lost in your own skin, didn't start with you? It began the moment you unknowingly traded your soul's truth for the world's applause. You exchanged your voice for silence, your boldness for belonging, and your joy for permission. It's a hidden cost, a subtle betrayal that, over time, carves deep cracks in the very core of who you are. You become a shape molded by expectation, a name that fits into other people's narratives but not your own. But here's the twist, the profound paradox that most people never fully grasp. The very act of striving to be enough for everyone else is precisely what makes you feel empty. It's a trap, meticulously constructed by fears we didn't even know we had. A life built on shifting sand, where your peace is fragile, and your worth is measured by fleeting compliments and crushing judgments. What if the wisdom to break free from this cycle isn't found in chasing more, or trying harder, or even becoming someone better? What if the answer lies in something ancient, something deeply profound, that whispers from within? What if, by finally letting go of the desperate need to be liked by everyone, you don't just find freedom, but you become it? This isn't just another self-help video. This is an invitation to unravel a truth you may have forgotten, but your heart never did. A timeless wisdom that holds the key to recognizing that you owe this world nothing, but you owe yourself everything. And when you understand this, truly understand it, you'll realize that the deepest peace doesn't come from outside, from the validation of others, but from a profound place within you. Are you ready to stop abandoning yourself to make others comfortable? Are you ready to stop editing your light to make it easier on their eyes? Because the world doesn't need another version of itself. It needs you. Whole, rooted, and gloriously real. Let's drop the mask and discover the path to a life where your worth is not a negotiation, but an undeniable truth. You know, this isn't about being inherently bad or manipulative. This invisible mask we wear, it often stems from a very human and deeply ingrained desire, the fear of not belonging. Think about it. From the moment we're little, we're taught that being loved often means being easy to be around. We learn to quiet our needs, to become adaptable, polite, predictable. We see it everywhere, in family dynamics, in school, even subtly reinforced by the perfect lives we scroll past on social media. We start believing that acceptance comes at the cost of authenticity, and that approval is like oxygen. It's a subtle, almost imperceptible shift, but it sets us on a path where our worth is constantly up for negotiation. Let me tell you a quick story that might sound familiar. Once upon a time, I had a friend, let's call her Sarah. Every day, Sarah would say yes to every single request at work, taking on extra projects, staying late, even covering for colleagues who consistently left early. And she did it all with a bright smile. But here's the thing, behind that smile, her heart was whispering a loud no. She was exhausted, burnt out, and felt completely disconnected from her own life. Because of that, she started feeling this deep emptiness, this sense of being far from home, even in her own skin. Until finally, she reached a breaking point, wondering why she felt so empty, and why her joy became dependent on someone else's permission to exist. Sarah's story, and perhaps your own, illustrates a crucial lesson. The quiet kind of suffering that comes from forgetting who you are, not in a dramatic, sudden way, but slowly, silently, as you bend yourself to meet the needs of everyone around you. It's like a tree forever bowing to the wind, never settling, never growing roots of your own. This silent betrayal creates tiny fractures that, over time, become deep cracks in your being. And that's what we're diving into next, the true, hidden cost of pleasing everyone but yourself. Because your life is not a rehearsal, and every second you spend living someone else's idea of who you should be is a second stolen from the person you were meant to become. So what exactly is this silent cost of pleasing everyone but yourself? It's what I call self-betrayal, a quiet, almost imperceptible fracturing of your spirit every time you act against your own core values, desires, or needs just to gain approval. Imagine this. Every time you say yes when your heart is screaming no, a tiny crack appears in your being. At first, it's barely noticeable, like a hairline fracture on a window pane. But over time, these tiny breaks become deep cracks, and suddenly, the person staring back at you in the mirror feels utterly unfamiliar. You weren't born to be agreeable at the cost of your spirit. You weren't placed here to contort your truth to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Yet, many of us do. We become performers on a stage we never chose, wearing masks just to be seen, completely forgetting the shape of our own face beneath them. This path leads to an invisible kind of collapse, a life where your joy becomes dependent on someone else's permission to exist. When your worth is measured by other people's reactions, your peace becomes incredibly fragile. A fleeting compliment might uplift you briefly, but a single judgment can crush you completely. You become like a house built on shifting sand, always at the mercy of outside winds. Let's look at some real-life examples. Think of someone constantly taking on extra tasks at work, even when they're already overwhelmed, just to be seen as a team player. They might be praised in the short term, but internally, they're battling chronic exhaustion, anxiety, and a growing resentment. Or consider a young artist who loves painting vibrant, abstract pieces. But because their family pushes them to create more marketable landscapes, they slowly abandon their true passion, feeling empty even when their pieces sell. Their creative well dries up, not because of lack of talent, but lack of authenticity. The worst part? This constant performance drains your energy, leaving you empty, exhausted, and desperately disconnected from your inner self. You might even find yourself losing interest in hobbies you once loved, or struggling to make simple decisions for yourself because you've become so accustomed to seeking external validation. The world is loud with voices telling you who to be, family, friends, strangers online. But none of them live in your body. None of them wake up with your heart. If you keep listening to them while ignoring yourself, your inner voice will begin to fade like an old song no one plays anymore. The lesson here is profound. This path isn't sustainable. It's a silent drain on your soul, leading to a deep sense of unfulfillment. But the good news? You can return. You can come back to yourself. The question is, how? That brings us to our next crucial insight, the transformative power of no, and how setting boundaries isn't selfish, but truly sacred. Now, after exploring the hidden cost of constantly pleasing others, you might be wondering, what's the antidote? The answer lies in mastering the incredibly powerful, yet often misunderstood, act of saying no, or more accurately, setting healthy boundaries. Many of us mistakenly believe that saying no makes us selfish, unkind, or difficult. We've been conditioned to think that being good means being endlessly available and agreeable. But here's the profound truth. Boundaries are not about pushing others away. They are about protecting the sacred ground of your being. Imagine your spirit as a beautiful garden. You wouldn't let just anyone trample through it, pulling up your precious flowers, would you? Boundaries are the fence around that garden, ensuring it can flourish undisturbed. They are an act of deep self-respect, and true compassion, ironically, begins with this self-respect. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being whole. As the saying goes, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot keep burning just to keep everyone else from feeling cold. When your flame flickers, what you offer others becomes hollow, strained, and eventually resentful. But when your spirit is nourished, your kindness flows freely, without expectation or resentment. This is why self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, a sacred act that allows you to give authentically. So how do we start? It begins with stillness. Before you reflexively say, yes, take a moment, a deep breath, and ask yourself, do I really want to give this piece of myself, or am I afraid not to? This simple question is your inner compass. Then practice micro-boundaries. You don't need to revolt or shout. Start small. Maybe it's gently declining an invitation you don't have the energy for, or clearly stating your availability for a task at work without overcommitting. It's about learning to say no gently and meaning it, and conversely saying yes with clarity. This isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about cultivating integrity in your interactions. Consider a parent who, despite loving their children deeply, learns to set a boundary by dedicating 15 minutes each evening to quiet reading, even if it means saying no to one more game. Initially, there might be pushback, but over time, the children learn to respect this boundary, and the parent feels recharged, more patient, and more present when they are engaging. Or think of a friend who always picked up the tab or organized every social event. When they start setting boundaries around their finances or time, some relationships might shift, but the ones that remain are built on genuine connection and mutual respect, not just convenience. The powerful lesson here, beautifully put by the Buddha, is you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. This isn't just poetry, it's permission. It's a reminder that you are not here to disappear. You are here to rise. Stop abandoning yourself to make others comfortable. Stop editing your light to make it easier on their eyes. When you begin to live from the inside out instead of the outside in, you don't just find freedom, you become it. And speaking of living from the inside out, that leads us perfectly to our next point. How we redefine success not by the crowd's applause, but by the whispers of our own soul. We've talked about the quiet cost of people-pleasing and the sacred act of setting boundaries. Now let's tackle one of the biggest silent battles we face, redefining success itself. In today's loud world, especially here in the US, we are bombarded with images and narratives telling us who to be, what to achieve, and how to appear. Social media floods you with perfect lives, and society gives you timelines you never agreed to. We're often taught that success means promotions, followers, trophies, or a certain bank account balance. And the common mistake, chasing someone else's version of success. When you do that, you become like a wave trying to outrun the ocean, restless, exhausted, and never feeling quite enough. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that peace begins the moment you stop performing for the world and start living from your own truth. True success isn't found in the noise of applause, but in the silence of self-trust. It's not about convincing the world of your worth, it's about not needing to. This is the art of inner freedom. Setting your own standards, keeping your own promises, and choosing goals that nourish your spirit rather than just feed your ego. It means shifting your internal compass. Instead of constantly asking, what do they expect of me? Begin asking, what honors my soul? Let me share a couple of examples. I once knew a brilliant corporate lawyer who, despite her impressive salary and title, felt profoundly unfulfilled. Every day was a performance. She eventually stepped away from that path, not to escape work, but to start a small nonprofit helping local communities. Did she get the same public recognition or income? No, but she found immense peace, integrity, and the quiet knowing that she was living in alignment with her values. Her success wasn't measured in promotions, but in the profound impact she made and the joy she felt. Another example is someone who starts a passion project, maybe a podcast or learning an instrument, not to become famous or make money, but purely for the joy of creating and expressing themselves. There's no pressure for external validation, just the quiet satisfaction of honoring their inner artist. When you stop measuring yourself against others, something powerful happens. You slow down. You begin to walk at your own pace, no longer in a race, but on a sacred path that is uniquely yours. Each step becomes intentional, each decision a quiet act of self-respect. Your life becomes a meditation, not loud or flashy, but deeply beautiful, like brushstrokes on a canvas only you can truly see. So make this your daily vow. I will create not to impress, but to express. I will act not for recognition, but from alignment. I will live not to be seen, but to be whole. True success is not found in the noise of applause, but in the silence of self-trust. And that's where your masterpiece lives, not out there in the world, but deep within you. As the Buddha wisely said, your work is to discover your world, and then with all your heart give yourself to it. Not the world they handed you, not the one they expect from you, but the one that calls from inside. This brings us to our final, empowering thought. How embracing your true self is the beginning of real compassion, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. And so, here we are at the end of our journey today. Yet, in the spirit of timeless wisdom, this is also just the beginning. If this conversation stirred something within you, a forgotten truth, a quiet longing for authenticity, or perhaps a glimmer of understanding about the invisible burdens you've been carrying, then don't let that feeling simply fade away. Let it plant a seed. Let it be the quiet revolution in your own heart. The profound truth at the core of all these teachings is that your greatest masterpiece isn't out there in the world, waiting for applause. It lives within you, in the silent, unwavering trust of your true self. It's the understanding that peace doesn't come from external validation, from tirelessly trying to be enough for others. It rises quietly from within you, like still water beneath a restless sky. You're already enough. Not when they applaud you, not when they accept you, but now, in this moment, in your truth, in your being. The path of wisdom, the Buddha's pathway, isn't about rigid rules or grand gestures. It's about the quiet courage to return home to yourself, to sit, to breathe, to see clearly, to cultivate compassion not by emptying yourself, but by nurturing your own inner flame, so its warmth can touch the world gently, fully, without condition. It's about releasing the weight of needing to be liked, because true freedom isn't found in being understood by everyone, but in standing calmly in your own being. This journey is yours, not for applause, not for recognition, but simply because it is yours. You were not born for the spotlight, you were born for the truth. And even in silence, even without external approval, your true light still shines. As you reflect on these insights, I invite you to share your own journey. Have you ever experienced a profound moment of realization, a quiet aha, that shifted your perspective on life? What was it? Or perhaps, what is the most challenging invisible mask you've tried to shed? Please, share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words might just be the light someone else needs to see today. And if you're walking this path of inner freedom and seeking more profound wisdom for your soul, be sure to subscribe to Buddha's Pathway and turn on the bell. We're here to grow together. Thank you for being here, for choosing to grow, for choosing you. Until next time, breathe deeply, walk gently, and come home to who you truly are.